Today we're doing a lesson on the dot product. If we have two vectors here, a and b, we'll define a as root 3i plus j and b as I minus j. And the dot product is taking the magnitude of both of those vectors and then multiplying by the cosine of the angle between those two vectors. So to find the magnitude of vector A, we just sum the square of the components here. So root 3 squared plus 1 squared, take the square root, we get 2. And the magnitude of B is 1 squared plus 1 squared equals root 2. So once we have those magnitudes, I've put them up there. Once we have them, we need to find the angle between the two vectors. We can do this by separating up these two vectors into two different components or two different angles here, okay, and then using inverse tan to find those. So for beta up here, we can find 1 over root 3, okay, taking the inverse tan will give me 30 degrees. And then for alpha, I take the vertical component divided by the horizontal component, inverse tan of that gives me 45 degrees. So summing those together gives me 75 degrees. Put that in the middle here. So now I have everything I need to find this dot product. Okay, so if I plug in the information, the magnitude of A is 2, the magnitude of B is root 2, then multiplied by cos of 75 gives me root 3 minus 1. Now I could have found this out by hand if I used a compound angle formula for cos. Otherwise, if I've typed it in my calculator, that's what comes out. The dot product, we could have done this in a different way, a much easier way. Once it's in this formation with the components, root 3i plus j and I minus j, I could have just multiplied the like components together, then sum up the total. So if I look at the I components for each a and b, so root 3 times 1, okay, so the root 3 from the I from vector A and the 1i from vector B, multiply them together. Then the 1 from vector A and the negative 1 from vector B, and that gives me root 3 minus 1, which is the same answer. For this example, we've got two vectors here, A and B, and we're going to find the angle between the two vectors using the dot product. So we can take the dot product between these, so A dot B is equal to, now if we multiply like components together, so I've got root 3 multiplied by 2, I'm going to write that as 2 root 3, and then adding these two components, so 1 times 2 root 3, so add them both up, 2 root 3, 2 root 3, how many root 3's do I have? I have 4 root 3. Okay, and that has to equal, from the other definition of the dot product, this has to be equal to, so 4 root 3 has to equal the magnitude of A times the magnitude of B cosine of the angle between. Okay, so the first thing we have to work out is the magnitude of A and the magnitude of B, and then we can find theta. So let's work out that first. So the magnitude of A, okay, I take the square root of root 3 squared, so root 3 all squared plus 1 squared. That gives me the square root of 3 plus 1, which is 4. So the magnitude is 2. Now the magnitude of B equals the square root of, what have I got? I've got 2 squared plus 2 root 3 all squared. Okay, so that's 4 plus 4 times 3, so I get 16, square root of 16, which equals 4. Okay, so then I know that if I rearrange this formula, so I get cosine of theta equals 4 root 3 divided by, so dividing it by the magnitudes of A and B, so 2 times 4, which is 8. So So 2 4s are 8, so that's going to equal, if I cancel this down, root 3 on 2. Okay, so cosine of root 3 on 2, what angle gives cosine of root 3 on 2? So theta must be equal to the inverse cos of root 3 on 2, okay, which is pi on 6, or 30 degrees.